So please give a warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Marion. And before I get started, one quick question. How great is it to live in a country where Donald Trump is our president? I was born in 1981, so that gives everybody a good idea of who the president was when I was born. And I never thought that I would live to say that somebody other than Ronald Reagan was the greatest president in my lifetime. But I think when the history books are written, give him another 4 years, I believe Donald Trump is going to go down as the greatest president. I apologize. I'm going to do a very quick audible, and I hope this works, because on my way here, I had a good friend of mine who I check in with once in a while, just to see how things are going, and this person called me. We played phone tag over the weekend, finally touched base today, and he called me to say, what in the world are we going to do about Michigan and turning Michigan around? And I told him, we've just got to get out and we've got to fight every single day. You want to know what I was doing tonight? And I said, well, I happen to be speaking in front of about 150, 200 Liberty Trump-loving patriots. And this person said that he would like to say hi to everybody. So if this works, let's hope this works. Okay, so everybody be quiet. And if it doesn't, I will as soon as he picks up. And if he doesn't, he said he'd call me back, so I'll Can you see?
I can see you and I can hear you.
I've got a lot of excited people that are ready for you to say hi and give them the same message that you gave me earlier. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I am ready. Ladies and gentlemen, Ted Nugent.
Because I crave and demand freedom. But I will always be the Motor City madman. When I was born in Michigan, it was the arsenal of democracy. It was the work ethic, productivity, pride epicenter of the world. And I know that that spirit and that attitude is alive and well in Michigan. Now we just have to make sure that we galvanize those who believe in God, family and country and freedom and the Constitution and work ethic to get out and vote. So our challenge is to chip away at the apathy that has ruined the conservative pulse across this country. And I'm so heartbroken to believe and admit that apathy has opened the door for the America-hating, productivity-hating Democrats and liberals to taint the once great state of Michigan. So please, get everybody you know, your family, your friends, your co-workers, your hunting buddies, people at the bowling alley and the barbecue, wherever you might go, out fishing, get everybody you know that loves real Michigan to vote God, family, country, and the real spirit of shit-kicker Michigan. And thank you, everybody. I love Michigan like man has never loved anything before. And I know we can come out of this. God bless you all. God bless America. And God bless real Michigan.
Well, I thought that'd be a pretty special treat for everybody. So hopefully that gets everybody riled up to get to the polls here in the next year. And piggybacking off of what Ann said, I cannot tell you how important it's going to be for the party to make certain we have people at the polls. I actually, when I was in between jobs in 2010, I actually ran the election day operation efforts for our state Republican Party. And it is very difficult to get people to actually go to the polls and serve as poll challengers. So let's make certain that we get people there early, because if you remember, in 2016, what did our president carry the state by? How many votes? Do you remember? 10,000 votes. Every single vote is going to count. And turnout is going to be important. I just want to say this, and then I'll get into why I'm here tonight, but I want to thank everybody for everything you did for us back in 2018. Talk about a close election and talk about Democrat turnout. We had, or when I say we, because it was a team effort, it wasn't about me, but we actually had the closest election in the state. I think it was 2.5%. But to put it in perspective, what the Democrat turnout was in 2018 and why it's going to be so important for us to get every single voter out the way that Ted just said, is this. In 2010, put this in perspective, Rick Snyder beat Verge Bernero by 19%. It was one of the biggest gubernatorial landslides that our state has ever seen, 19%. That year, Rick Snyder got 1.985 million votes, 1,985,000 votes. In 2018, I actually got 30,000 more votes than Rick Snyder got, and still lost by 2.5%. That's what the Democrat turnout was in 2018. And you best believe, if they showed up in 2018, they are going to be there in 2020. So we have to get our friends, our family, we have to let them know how important it is to get out there and vote. And the one person that I really want to stump for right now, and I'm going to put this, and I'm going to tell you why, is John James. And I never understood on a micro level until August how important it is for us as a state to have a Republican senator representing us in D.C. I got pretty close with John when we were campaigning together a couple years ago. And I'll be frank, and probably like many of you in this room, when I looked at John and I looked at that race, I saw him on more the macro level. Hey, this is going to be another vote for Mich McConnell and for our president to get conservative judges confirmed, or conservative ambassadors, or get legislation passed. I wasn't thinking about it on the micro level until I got a phone call from the White House. It was about a little over a year ago, asking if I would have any interest in serving as the United States Attorney for the Western District of Michigan. Throughout the country, there are 94 federal prosecutors that are the chief law enforcement officials of that particular district that represent the president. There are 94, so there are less of those than there are United States senators. Michigan happens to have two. There's an Eastern District and there's a Western District. The Western District had not been filled yet. And we had a good conversation, and they said, you know, there will be some intense vetting, there will be an intense FBI background check, there's going to be several interviews you're going to have to go through, but our goal would be to have you in office by June. So I thought, man, this would be an incredible opportunity to go back and do public service. I mean, what better than representing the president, being one of his chief law enforcement officials and fighting crime, fighting the opioid epidemic, fighting human trafficking, fighting public corruption, you name it, just an incredible opportunity. Well, I could write a book about this entire process. But after about 2 or 3 trips to DC and interviews and vetting, it's funny, one of the things that I had to do, I had to turn over, now get this, I had to turn over every single article and every single YouTube link where I had ever given a speech or it was ever written about me. So I literally had to YouTube myself. And for like 3 days, I went and I looked at all of the videos where I had, you know, I had spoken in front of crowds. Well, of course, I had been here twice, and I had spoken at the Lakes Area Tea Party twice, and it was probably about a 35-minute speech. So I literally had to watch myself for about an hour and a half in these 2 speeches. So I'm thinking to myself, what in the world did I say when I was speaking in front of her? It's going to come back and bite me. Thankfully, everything was good, but had to turn all of that over. Went through a 6-week FBI background check. And unfortunately, due to the government shutdown, things got pushed back a little bit. And it was around July, I got a phone call from the number 3 person within the Justice Department and said, hey, just want to give you a heads up, your nomination, your formal nomination should be going out any day. At that point, because I was essentially a quasi-member of the Department of Justice, I had, and rightfully so, I completely disengaged from partisan politics. And that's why you haven't seen me for several months. And I would expect nothing short from anybody, whether it be a Republican or a Democrat. When you become a member, or you're going to become a member of the Department of Justice, you leave partisan politics behind because there is no room for partisan politics in the Department of Justice. So I disengaged from partisan politics, and it took them a few weeks, and it was around mid-August, is when the nomination, the intent to nominate finally went out. And I learned so much about this process, but essentially, when it comes to United States attorneys, United States marshals, or district court judges, not circuit, but district court judges, U.S. attorneys, and U.S. marshals, and that's because they are completely confined, or the border is within one state. Home state senators have absolute veto power, and they can stop those nominees from ever getting a vote in the United States Senate. It does not matter that the votes are there. It's an archaic Senate rule. And essentially, the purpose of that rule was to force whoever the president was to work with the home state senators. I can understand working with them. But then my intent to nominate went out. I got a phone call from the Justice Department. And they said, hey, your formal nomination, right now your intent to nominate has gone out. Your formal nomination, it won't become formal until just after Labor Day. They said, your two home state senators are home right now. They're in Michigan because we're in recess. They said, reach out to them to see if they'd be willing to take a meeting with you. Because once you become a formal nominee, everything has to go through the Justice Department. So why don't we just knock out the meeting with them now and make this very simple for everybody and let them answer any questions they may have or what have you. So I didn't think a lot of it. And I had some good friends that were on the other side of the aisle. They were able to put me in contact with the two senators' chiefs of staff. And within a couple of days, we were on the phone. And it was a very respectful conversation. I don't want to pretend like it was a rude conversation, but it was very, very professional. But I was essentially told, under no circumstance will either of the senators ever have time to meet with you when they're in Michigan. And if they decide to take a meeting with you, you will have to fly to DC to do it. Because they are simply too busy when they are in Michigan to take a meeting. I said, okay, well, let me know. I'll do what I need to do. But they said, but there's going to be an intense vetting process. And we'll let you know when they want to take a meeting. Okay. I saw real quickly where this one was at. So at that point, I went out and I got letters of support for my nomination. But I didn't go out and get Republicans because I knew it wasn't going to do me any good to present a bunch of endorsements from Republicans to two Democrat senators. My nomination was endorsed by Mike Duggan, Mayor of Detroit. Endorsed by Mark Hackle, Democrat County Executive from Macomb County. 80 prosecutors and sheriffs. David Layton, the Genesee County prosecutor in the 2010 Democrat nominee for Attorney General. The Police Officers Association of Michigan. The Fraternal Order of Police. The Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Detroit. The Chaldean Chamber of Commerce. Every chamber of commerce you can think of throughout the state of Michigan. The Michigan Community Health Association. The list goes on. I think that's a pretty broad range of support, supporting somebody to be the president's choice to be the next federal prosecutor for the Western District of Michigan. Several times I had the Justice Department reach out to the two senators to ask, would you at least be willing to sit down and take a meeting? Couldn't get an answer. Wouldn't respond. And this went back and forth for about 4 months. Finally, in November, the senators reached out and essentially said, we have compiled, or we have put together an informal group of 5 Democrat attorneys on the western side of the state, and if you would go over and interview with them, no witness, no attorney, no recording, and all goes well, they will allow you to have a vote. The Justice Department did not want me to do this. The White House did not want me to do this. We kind of got back and forth, and I just said, well, do I have to, it's called a blue slip. If they don't submit the slip, I was not able to have a vote. I said, are they going to submit the slip without me doing the interview? And they said, well, no. I said, well, I'm not going to sit here and live in limbo my entire life. We have to move on, not just for me, but we have to move on for the 3.5 million people that have been through 3 years without any representation. Now, to put in perspective how important it is to have a Senate-confirmed United States attorney in place, shortly after my nomination, Eric Holder, we all remember Eric Holder, was in town promoting his voters, not politicians effort or whatever it was, and a reporter asked him the question, what his thoughts were on one of our districts not having a Senate-confirmed United States attorney in place. And even Eric Holder said, that is absolutely nuts. You have to have a Senate-confirmed United States attorney in place to actually bring accountability and bring a vision to the office. So even Eric Holder essentially, while he didn't use me by name, or use my name, essentially said, you need to get their nominee confirmed. Because we need accountability in that office. So I finally drove over to Lowell, and I did my interview with the 5 Democrat attorneys that were supposed to vet me. And in all fairness to them, it seemed to be very fair. I didn't walk out there thinking that anything bad had happened or that it was a setup or anything like that. In fact, I went back to my contacts who knew individuals that were in that office, or I'm sorry, that were in that meeting, and they confirmed, they said, Tom, it went exceptionally well. I have no doubt that they're going to allow you to have a vote soon. This was the Friday before Thanksgiving. 2 or 3 weeks went by, still no word. Well, every year the nominations have to start over if the calendar year goes over. And I knew that we were very close to me having to be renominated. So I called the Justice Department one more time. I said, hey, I've done everything I was supposed to do. They gave their word they were going to allow me to have a vote. This meeting went well. Everybody says the meeting went well. Where are we at now? And they said, why don't you email their chiefs of staff one more time to see if the senators would at least be willing to take a meeting. I emailed them each one more time to ask them if they would at least take a meeting with me. I said, I will do it anywhere, anyhow, any place, DC, Michigan, you name it. And at least to her credit, 3 days later, Senator Stabenow at least had her chief of staff call me to say there's no need for us to take a meeting. You and the senator have too many political differences, so therefore she's going to block you and not allow you to vote. I'm still waiting to hear from Senator Peters. At least she had the decency to tell me where she was after 4 months. Now, was it frustrating and was it annoying to go through this process for 4 months when ultimately it's clear what their answer was going to be? It was frustrating on a personal level. But my question was this: if you knew what your answer was going to be, why did you allow, if you truly care about the citizens of the state, if you truly care about having somebody in that office to fight violent crime, fight human trafficking, fight the opioid abuse, because this is all they talk about. They talk about working in a bipartisan fashion to fight and to combat all of these efforts. If you truly cared about having somebody in place to fight those efforts, and you just couldn't get yourself to a place where you'd allow me to have a vote, why would you let the citizens go another 4 months without representation? These are not senators that want to work for the president. These are not senators that want to do what's best for the citizens of the state of Michigan. On the same day, I was nominated by I was nominated with a gentleman to be the U.S. Marshal for the Eastern District of Michigan. He still has not had a meeting with the senators. He still is not confirmed. And while they won't admit this, do you know what his sin is? Do you know why he can't get a meeting? Do you know why he can't get confirmed right now? Because his sister happens to be the social media director for our First Lady. We also do not have a Western District Marshal. We have had a Western District judicial seat that has been open, I believe, for now over 4 years. That still has not been filled. These are not senators, despite what they are saying right now in their commercials, that want to work with our president in any way, shape, or form. As I told you, there are 94 districts. You would think this was a nationwide problem. No, it's not. There are only 8 districts right now in the entire country that do not have a federal prosecutor in place to fight violent crime. Those areas are the Western District of Michigan. There's a handful in New York. Well, we know who's controlling things in New York. There's one in Illinois, and then there's one in Guam. Gary Peters has legitimately put the Western District of Michigan in the same position as Guam. If that doesn't get every person in this room fired up to get out and tell your friends and your family and explain to them why we need a Republican U.S. Senator representing the state, I don't know what would. And I did not understand that until I went through this process. Now, all that to say, I don't want anybody in this room to feel bad for me. I knew what I was going through as soon as I signed it. And quite frankly, I have been so blessed since this ended and I'm no longer in limbo. Because now I can get back, I can get working, I can come, I can address all of you, I can get back involved politically. And what I think, I can't prove this, but what I think the senators thought was going to happen is that I was just going to sit around for several months and let this die on mine, and then come campaign year, time, they weren't going to be held accountable. They were just going to throw their hands up and say, well, I don't know why we don't have a prosecutor in place to fight crime. You know, it's the dysfunction in D.C. And in late December, I said, absolutely not. If you know anything about me, one thing I'm a firm believer in is holding people accountable. And I said, it may blow up my nomination, but the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let every person in the state know that the sole reason that we don't have a federal prosecutor in place to fight violent crime is because of Gary Peters. It's not because of our president.
Right.
And that's what I intended. So with that, does anybody have any questions about this process? I'm seeing some hands up.
How is this not obstruction?
It's, to me it is. The question was, how is this not obstruction? It is complete, I mean, to me, this is complete obstruction. I mean, again, the purpose, and I'm not saying I agree with it, but the purpose of the blue slip process was to make certain that the White House, and it's been in place for years, but to make certain the White House and the home state senators were at least working together to get nominees in place. But the idea that you can take somebody who has been a nominee from one party, who has that type of broad bipartisan support, who has all the support of law enforcement, has the mayor of Detroit, the Macomb County executive, and you won't even take their meeting, shows me that you're completely abusing that process. And at least for Michigan, they ought to be ready. Yeah.
Does the fact that John James would win, so you have one Republican, one Democrat senator, would that change the picture at all?
So the question is, if John James were to win, if we had a Republican senator and a Democrat senator, and you had one to be able to allow these votes to go forward, would that help? I believe it would. Now, technically, I believe under Senate rules, either senator can block something coming up for a vote, but I will say this, it makes it much more difficult to block something when you're on an island all by yourself. And I think if we actually had a Republican senator in place right now that was actually out there locally on the stump every day saying, can you please call Senator X and ask them why we don't have a federal prosecutor in place, or why we don't have either marshal in place, or why we don't have a Western District federal judge, I believe it would force the hand of the other senator and at least put them in a place where they would at least have to work with our party. Yes?
What about a recess appointment?
The question was, what about a recess appointment?
Obama did it when they weren't even in recess.
Yeah, I mean, that is a question you have to ask the White House. I don't know. I mean, I think at this point, with me having gone public, I've probably blown it for me for this term, but that's okay. You know, I'm okay where I'm at, and I'm at peace with it. I just want to make certain that these senators are held accountable for the disaster that they've created here, because No other state is experiencing this type of obstruction throughout the country. There was one over here, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, he had mentioned recess appointments. Our Congress has not allowed President Trump to make any recess appointments. We really need to get and rattle some cages and start asking them why all the other previous presidents have been allowed to make recess appointments and nobody has not, even Rand Paul, has not, I guess they have to like allow it for a day, or I'm not sure exactly how the process works, but they've not done whatever they do. It only takes one vote to allow the president recess appointments, and nobody's done it, which is terrible. I think Obama had over 100.
So are these, these set rules written in stone? Why doesn't the Congress change them?
I'm just told that he's a stickler on the blue slip process. That's all I'm told. I mean, I wish I could say that I knew him personally. I don't. We've never. I'm just told that he's a stickler on the blue slip process, and I don't have an answer. I simply don't.
How is it that Trump was able to slam through in California with Feinstein and Harris?
Yeah, so the question was, there's a lot of confusion on this. The question is, how was he able to get through these judicial appointments in California? My understanding is, and I'm 98% certain on this, I'm not 100, but I'm 98%. The reason is because those judges that were able to get through, those were circuit court judges. So what happened, the blue slip process used to apply to circuit court judges. And as you may know, circuit court judges actually represent a handful of states. It's not just Michigan. So for instance, we're in the 6th Circuit, which is Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, I think Kentucky. There's 4 or 5 states. So it used to be that every one of those senators, any of those senators within those states could block that. And finally, McConnell and the Trump administration said no. In the 9th Circuit, because, think about that, they never be able to get a judge through. And that's why you see such horrendous decisions come out of the 9th Circuit, because no other president has ever challenged this before. So my understanding is those judges that you hear about getting through are circuit court appointments. They're not district court appointments. Any others? Well, I will just, I will close with this. Again, I cannot tell you how important it is for us to have a Republican senator representing us in D.C., but I will also say this, and you hear this every 2 years, and it doesn't, it comes from Republicans and it comes from Democrats, and that is, this election is the most important of our life. You hear that every 2 years, okay? I truly believe that for 2020. Why do I believe that? In 2016, while Trump spoke a very good speak, if you will, on the stump, the jury was still out. He had never held office. We did not know for certain that this was somebody who was going to do what he said he was going to do, or what he campaigned on doing. And he got in office, and he did everything that he campaigned and said he was going to do. So the one thing I can tell you that I agree with every Democrat right now running for president, you hear this on the debate stage, if you watch these, is this is an election for the heart and soul of our country. I truly believe it. And I truly believe that this is going to be the most important election of our lifetime. Why? Because for the first time in a long time, you are going to have a true election based on ideals. And the question is going to be for every citizen that goes to vote, do you want socialism brought to our country? And do you want to see the end of freedom and capitalism in the America that we know it as? And I don't mean to sound extreme. They're the ones saying it. They are the ones campaigning on bringing socialism to America. And to my knowledge, this is the first time that the Democrat Party has had a frontrunner that is openly campaigning on bringing socialism to our country. This is the most important election of our life. And we have to do everything we can to get our voters out, because this is going to be razor thin in November. But the one thing I can tell you is this. If we can carry Michigan for our president. I don't see any possibility, I don't see any way, the numbers just simply don't add up. If we can carry Michigan for our president, I don't see any way he won't win re-election.